Stop being so. Hello. So, hello. Intros are the worst, man. Intros are hard. So if you saw my previous video, I went out into London and shot an abandoned building. And on the day of shooting, it wasn't the weather I was promised at all. It was classic foggy, grey London, and I wanted beautiful blue skies. So the shoot ended up being a bit of a disappointment on the first time round. I did manage to get the shot I wanted in like 5 days' time, and I went back out again. But on that first day, it felt like a bit of a disappointment. But having time to reflect on those images now, I realised that I could just convert them into black and white and maybe save those images. And today's video, I'm going to be doing exactly that. And I'm going to see if I can save that image from that cloudy, foggy day. So let's have a look. So this is the raw file that we're working with. This is the photo that I took on the day. The first thing I can see is there's way too much foreground. Because of the weather though, I wasn't really trying as hard. I just knew it wasn't going to be the picture I wanted. But I think we can save this photo. Well, not save it, but I reckon we can turn it into something pretty good. So you can see I've underexposed it because I wanted to keep what little detail there was in the sky and the highlights. But yeah, so the first thing we want to do is I'm going to crop it to 6:17 because I think, one, it would get rid of that foreground. And 6:17 is a nice panoramic aspect ratio. The next thing I'm going to do is convert to black and white. So already this looks so much nicer. Bring up that exposure a little bit. And what I want to do is try and recreate the fogginess and the overcast. So up that exposure a bit. Let's drop the highlights. Let's mess around with these a little bit. We all know how to use these sliders. Black and white images always look real nice when they're nice and sharp. But because of the fog, I want to get rid of some of that clarity and soften it up just a little bit. There we go. Bring that up slightly. Lift those blacks a bit. And drop this here. Let's lift up those mid-tones. And for the highlights, I think I'm actually going to drop them. And then just take the edge off. Just take that edge off the highlights there. What I tend to do, if I'm lifting the blacks, I'll also drop the whites. It just kind of takes out of, when you drop these whites here, it just takes that harshness of the whites out. It almost turns it a very, very light grey. So now we come to the black and white mix. Whatever colours are in the image, this is going to essentially dodge and burn those colours. So we know full well there's a lot of greens and a lot of yellows in this grass and the trees. So when we affect these sliders, it's going to change it very dramatically. So essentially, as I said, we're dodging and burning these colours. So let's mess around with these greens a bit. Bring out these yellows. I think I actually want to darken the whole foreground. Good thing about black and whites are you want a lot of contrast. Well, for me anyway. Usually there'll be a lot of blue in the sky, but it was just white cloud. There's still a little bit of blue in there. It's picked up, but I'm going to just darken that ever so slightly. And aqua in the beams. You can see the aqua here in these beams of the building. I want to bring those out a little bit. Not too much. There we go. Leave the purples and magentas, but I'm quite happy with already this is a better image. Now, leaving the mid-tones, leaving the split toning, I mean, won't even touch that for black and white. You can kind of add like a sepia tone. You could turn it sort of old-fashionedly like that. That makes it look like it was taken in 1937, but I don't really want that. So sharpening, I want it nice and sharp, so I'm going to take it to 50. The beauty of doing this masking is if there's any noise in your image, it will not sharpen the noise. It will only sharpen what you want, essentially. So I only want the hard edges to be sharpened. That's that done. Good. And noise reduction, I don't want any noise reduction because black and white images kind of are complemented by noise, I feel. That will take out essentially the personality of the lens. So the 16-35 is when you're shooting really wide, I was shooting at 21mm, it does warp the edges quite a lot. Depends what you want, like with a landscape and stuff, you don't want that characteristic, you don't really want the lens's personality, but sometimes in some images you want to keep that personality of the lens, but in this instance we don't. Now we're going to transform. So when you're shooting architecture and when you're shooting buildings, you want all your lines to be straight or as straight as possible. Generally you'd use a tilt shift lens for this sort of stuff, but I don't own one because they're super expensive, so I have to do it all in post. First of all, I'm going to do vertical, see how that looks. And you just saw it's a very, very subtle movement, a subtle shift. But another alternative, what you could do, is you choose what you want to be straight in an image. So let's choose this beam here. So you go right up against this and you go down, using a little box to sort of finesse it. So that's one. You choose another one, you want this line to be straight also. So where's the beam? Here. That's not a swear word, by the way. It's FCK. So it's safe for children. So we grab this here and we go all the way down. Boom. And now that should make those straight. Bang. There you go. And then you can drop it in. So now the image is nice and straight. I think I might just need to level it ever so slightly in a minute. Let's add a little vignette just for a bit of effect. Oh, it's looking great already. Now let's add some grain because I think it will benefit from a little bit of grain. Let's have a look. It's getting close. Let's get in real close. So you can see some nice grain now. I don't want it too rough though. I think the default roughness is too high. I always bring that right back to about 10. The key is always subtlety. Always keep it subtle. I think I just want to straighten the horizon ever so slightly. This is going to be a tiny little move. Maybe that. I think that is perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to add a tiny bit of fog down here, in here, just to really try and capture how it was on the day. So, don't want exposure. I want to drop the clarity a bit, and I want to drop dehaze to about 50. Again, it's just keep it subtle, nothing drastic. Now, I am loving this. So already, this is a much, much nicer image than what we started with. So if we look at what we started with, I know it was underexposed, but you get my point. It's already looking like a proper, decent image. I think I actually want to make this foreground darker upon looking at it again. Change that, and let's just drop that exposure a bit. So I'm loving this image at the minute. I think it's pretty much done. I just want to bring up the exposure slightly and then a little bit more. Now that is, I love it. I actually love this image now. The only thing I kind of wish we hadn't chopped the top of this building off, but I also wish the building wasn't in it at all. But it does kind of add a bit of balance to it, so it's fine. I'm not too bothered. Now the only thing left to do is give it a little border. So let's go to Photoshop. Alright, so once Photoshop's open, all we're going to do, we're going to go to image, and then we're going to go canvas size. We're going to change pixels to %, and you can't put the same percentage around the whole border, as it just won't match up. So I reckon we go around 103 for the width, and then 108 for the height, and then that is that. I think it looks absolutely great. Love it. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the edit. Let me know what you thought. Did you like the photo? Did I manage to save it? I think I did. I think it's quite a cool image now. So when next time you're out and it's terrible weather or cloudy or whatever, you know you can always just turn it to black and white and make an otherwise dull image quite a cool one. So yeah, let me know what you think. And I'll be doing more photography on location videos as soon as the weather gets better. We've got 7 days of solid rain in London, but once that clears up, I'll be back on it. So I'll see you soon.